Welcome back to Hashtag Single with Jeanette Bonner. I am not a relationship expert or sex therapist. I'm just a regular New York City woman navigating the world as a single, independent feminist. Hashtag Single is about having honest conversations with other singles in today's device-obsessed culture. So I hope you'll join me on this interesting, challenging, and complex journey as we navigate the ins and outs of singledom. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Hashtag Single. I am Jeanette Bonner, your host. I have some really awesome guests with me today. We're very excited to have a really great conversation. I have Leah. Leah, thank you for being on the podcast with me.
Thank you for having me.
And our voice of the patriarchy is Darian.
Oh, I hate the way that sounds. Hello.
Everyone does.
And I take
a lot of delight in it, actually.
Wow. I've never been hit that way before. So that's
yes.
Okay.
Thank you for representing the patriarchy.
Wow.
Just being here. So Leah and I are going to have an amazing conversation, and then we'll check in with you and see how everything lands with you, and see if anything's come up, and hear about your experience. How's that feel?
Sounds good.
Great. Cool. Great. All right, let's get started. Leah, what is going on in your dating, dare I say, love life?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
She gets right into it.
That's where we begin.
It's how can I put this in like a non-threatening way, since they all think I'm threatening? I think that's all. A lot of men think they say that I'm intimidating because of what I do.
Oh.
So I get that a lot.
Wait, get into that a little bit more for people who don't know you.
So I go by Leah V. That's my name now, which is really cool. It sounds like a superhero name.
Yeah, or like a rap star.
That too.
I love that I said that like Leah I was like my mom. You're like a rap star.
Oh. Okay, boomer moment.
I know, right? I just aged myself by 25 years.
Right. So I am a body positive activist, an author. I travel around the world doing commercials and print campaigns. I am a badass and I do a lot of stuff. I have 2 master's degrees.
Hell yeah.
And
that's why you're on Hashtag Single by the by.
Okay.
We love to celebrate strong, independent, badass women. And you radiate that. So congratulations to you. Own it. Don't apologize.
I'm doing so many different things. And every time I try to get into just even dip my pinky toe in it, it's just like, oh my God, you're so intimidating. Like, for instance, I was on a dating app a long time ago, and so now I'm showing my age. I'm also a boomer. I'm just kidding. I'm 32, but close. But so I was on a dating app, and I put that I was a model. This is like before I kind of like blew up,
mm-hmm.
and this guy swiped right on me, and the first thing he says is, "Wow, you model? That's so intimidating." And I'm just like, so why did you swipe on me? If I was so scary to you, why did you do that?
Maybe it was like a backwards compliment. Like he's trying to be like, oh my God, you're an amazing person.
Oh,
I don't know. I'm trying to understand men.
No, well, it's because I've gotten it so many different times from different men that it's always a reoccurring theme that I'm too much, or like I'm just too much for them, whether it's education wise, or I think I know it all, and they just. I think it's an insecurity there.
Is it your accolades that's too much for them, or is it like is this when you meet them, like your persona?
I try to actually tone it. I'm a Leo, so I can be a little aggressive and assertive, which I'm not going to say I'm not. But with me, and I do try to be like, normal, whatever. And then when they ask me what I do, I lay it all on the table.
Why wouldn't you?
And then it's just like, oh wow, you do so many things. Or they'll get really super insecure and be like, oh well, my life's not as like glamorous as yours. And I'm like, but what are you talking about? Like, don't let this overshadow like I want to hear more about you. And a lot of them won't tell me about themselves after I tell them about myself. So I started doing this thing where I don't tell people what I do anymore. I tell them I'm a writer. And I know that's really, really bad, but I feel like what I do overwhelms people. And so like, I don't really feel like having that conversation. But then when the conversation does come up, it's just like, okay, so now what do you do? And I tell them, and then it happens again. So it's just like, I can't win.
I buy into the idea of overwhelming people with too much information first.
Right.
But it makes me so
effing angry that you would have to like dim down your accomplishments to make a guy feel comfortable about his own life. Like that on a feminist level is probably why I am single. Like that is like not okay.
I know.
It's fucking infuriating.
I know. It is, but it's just like, yeah, that's why I paused dating, because then I found myself doing it, and I'm very feminist too, very intersectional feminist, and I was just like, okay, this is not you, and so if they can't take it, then you just don't need to be dating right now.
I'm in support of that very much. Yeah. Like if you can't be your whole full self, then why bring a fraction of you to dating, which isn't the truth anyway?
They're gonna find out. They can just Google me.
I love that they're going to find out.
They're going to find out who I am.
That I've been keeping secrets about my true identity.
Like, what do you do? I'm a writer. Like, that's it? Yeah. Just,
yeah. But anyway, tell me about your dog. It's not important what I write.
It's that. And then on the other side of the dating thing, when I do find someone, it's usually, so I'm a plus size model, and I'm very curvy. I'm bottom half curvy. And a lot of men objectify me. So there's this thing going on in the body positive movement, and just with like the body autonomy movement, is that there are certain body types that are overly sexualized and other body types. And usually black women are hypersexualized. And then if you're curvy on the bottom or have big boobs, then you're seen as hypersexual, even though you may or may not be, just because based on your body type.
Yeah.
And so when I date guys, I also notice that that's the first thing they latch on to is body type. I actually had a date not recently, but a couple months ago, with this guy. He seemed really educated, really nice. I was excited, like, oh, this might be it. I can have me a little boo. And he actually went to lunch, and he seemed like a nice person. And then he told me, he says, you know what? I really like curvy girls, and I was going to ask you for your measurements because I couldn't see your body type through the gown you had on at the show. And I was just like, you're going to ask me my fucking measurements? I was like, you sound like a creep, number one. Number two, like, that's not something you ask somebody.
Did you call him out on it?
Yes, I did.
Good.
Girl,
Good
you know I did. I was just like,
good.
Wait, what is like cattle?
I need to know that.
I was just like, I was going to ask, can you imagine?
It's not okay for anybody to, like for any woman ever. Literally, no man needs to know what not just like your shape.
Yeah, I just like my measurements. Yes. Like I was just like,
inches?
Yes. And then I was like, do you know how you sound right now? He's like, I was like, are you a fucking mathematician? He's like, well, I do like math. I'm like, that's not the point. That's not the point.
That's not what I'm asking you.
And so I get that a lot. It's just like, so now what I do is if men ask me, like if they say anything about, and this is like, I also need therapy too. So this is like, if men make any comments about my body type, it's immediate cutoff. And my sister said that it's kind of like, because what if it's like something nice? I'm like, no, I don't want men to
talk about it
at all. So whether it's good or bad, honestly, I don't really care. And so now I'm at the point where it's like I've been like objectified so much by men, like on the street, on dating apps, and my ex, that I don't even want them even talking about it.
Yeah, but that's your deal breaker. That's your boundary, and you're totally entitled to have that. Like everyone's entitled to whatever their boundaries are. You don't need to apologize for that.
Yeah.
Yours happen to be around that because it's been abused.
Basically. And it's like, it's so sad that I can't be like...
This actually came up in a recent podcast. We were just talking about how women are not able to receive physical compliments at all anymore because your first impulse is don't talk to me. So it doesn't even matter if a guy is legit complimenting you. I like your jeans. I'm like, shut up. I'm like, do not talk about what I'm wearing. Do not talk about what I look like.
Yeah.
Because we've been objectified on the street in hollaback culture, just on the internet in general, just with the male gaze, it's become a problem that it's ruined it.
Basically.
A large number of assholes have ruined it for everyone. And you're like, no, you're not allowed to compliment me.
Basically.
Unless I've known you for a long time and I know it's genuine.
Basically. Yeah. I'm so glad I'm not crazy then.
Absolutely not.
Because my sister was like, he just said that. And I'm like, yeah, but no.
But again, like, it doesn't matter if you're the only person in the universe that has a problem with that. Like, that's your deal breaker. That's your boundary. And that should be enough for people to not have to question.
Right.
In my humble opinion,
Bloop.
you are entitled to whatever it is doesn't work for you. Yeah, I hear that. And I can see why dating online would be really, really hard.
Online and in person too, because they do it to me in person too. Yeah.
So how are you dating?
I'm not
Okay.
I want to, but it's just like, how do you, and also like, just to preface the situation, I was married for like 10 years.
Okay.
I got married super young, like at 19. And then, he did me so dirty at the last 2 years. And so I was very like traumatized from that. After that, I was just throwing my pussy at everybody. And I'm saying that very lightly. Cause like, just like anyone
that's a light statement,
anyone can get it. It's very light for me. I was like, anyone can get it. It's so embarrassing. Like, I hope they never come forward because it's so embarrassing. But anyway, beyond the point. So I was throwing it at everybody, and at a certain point,
we pause that for a second. Because how is that any different than a guy going around?
No, that's true.
And like throwing his dick at whatever
that
moves.
Is true. For me personally, like I was doing it for the wrong reasons. Like I was doing it to fill a void because he had left, and it had it demolished like very, very bad, and I was in pain. And I was treating these men the way men treated women, or cheating men cheated women, and I was using them for their bodies. That was a problem.
Yeah, it feels.
And for me, I don't want.
When you're hurting.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't want to treat them like that, and so I was like, this has to stop. And then I just basically figured like, let me get myself together, get my brand together, and then I dipped a little bit back in dating. But then some situations happened where I was just like, a dude will do friend zoned with me, and I was like, I'm so hurt. Oh my God, am I ugly? Am I fat? And then I was just like, I'm not doing this anymore. And then it's been like spot situations, but most of them have either been intimidated by me or objectified me. So I was just like, this is too tiring for me to deal with.
Yeah, it's exhausting. And I truly feel, and this is one of the reasons I started the podcast, is that it's broken on so many levels. The first level being just like communication. Like the apps were not built for us to communicate properly. It's, or to create a relationship through a proper communication. Mm-hmm. Like you're doing bits and pieces of hey, and 4 days go by and you're like, oh, hey, I forgot about you. How are you doing? How's your work day? It's not a way to like build any kind
asking
of rapport.
You, what are you doing 200,000 times?
Oh my God.
And you tell them the same thing and they keep asking, what are you doing? I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
Endless loop.
I ask you what I'm doing and it's over. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like,
I've gotten to that place as well. I've gotten to that place where I'm just like, the minute it's like, how's your day? It's like exhausting. But I have been trying to approach dating with empathy and be like, okay, it's hard to start a conversation with a stranger. Most men are not great communicators, so they don't know what else to ask. Okay. Even though I've written an entire profile of interesting things about me.
Right. It's like,
ask me how my day is going. That's fine. I'm okay with that.
I'm going to put that on my next profile. Don't ask me how my day is going.
They're going to be like, what's left? What's
she's
left
a
to talk
feminist,
about?
And that's why she's ruining society.
She's going to talk about her day. I wonder if it would be better if you were like, who are you going to vote for?
Oh, I'm not even.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, would you rather have a really bland question opener or like a really intense potential debate topic as a starter cue?
Honestly, it's I don't even know.
They both suck. That's one of those would you rather moments.
Yeah.
So back to you, because I interrupted you. You were just talking about like your journey from marriage back into dating.
Right. Which is horrid. It's very hard.
Were there any nice moments to it?
Dating? Or the marriage?
Any of it. The marriage. How did you and your partner meet?
So ex-husband. He, so basically what happened was I was dating, so I'm also Muslim. So I was dating this, not really dating, but I had this infatuation with this non-Muslim boy. And I already knew what it was about to be, but I was like, I'm going to ride this all the way. And I was also homeschooled. So I was Muslim and homeschooled, so I was very sheltered. And I met him at Taekwondo. I'm a black belt in Taekwondo.
Oh my God,
that's like the only
ever.
Right. And so he was just like, and I was like, well, I'm still fat now, but I was like fat when I was younger too. And so he liked me even though I was really fat, and everybody else was like throwing their selves at him. He was like a bad boy from Detroit, and I was like, oh, he likes me and I'm fat, and I had like really low self-esteem and stuff like that. So that really like touched my heart. But he was so very, very hood. Like, he was from Detroit hood. And so I was like, not. And also like Muslim. And so we, had this like, relationship, but not like, it wasn't like physical or anything like that. He stuck and called me. I stuck and called him. So my mom, I don't want her to freak out because, in Islam, you're not supposed to date. So I was like, we had to keep this on a low, and he was okay with that. And so I became very obsessed and infatuated with him. And he had ended up going to the Marines. And like I was in college at the time, and I'm just like, I was 17 and in college because I graduated early. Oh, wow. And so I was like, I'm going to run away with him to California. And then so one day he sent me flowers to my house, and my mom was just like, my Muslim name is Amira. So she's like, Amira? I'm like, yes, Mom. She's like, you have flowers at the house. There's a note attached to it. I was like, I'm going to be fucked up when I get home. I'm about to be fucked up. And I was like, be home shortly. And so I went home, and she's like, shockingly, she didn't like say anything. She's like, oh, who's this? And I'm like, he's from Taekwondo. And she's like, how have you guys been talking? I'm like, on and off for a couple years, and I'm going to see him tonight because he's back from the Marines. And she was just like, She didn't say anything. Okay. And I was like, this is so scary. She always beats me. I'm so scared. And so, not beats me, but, she gave me a couple whoopings. But yeah, but she was like she always flies off the hinge. She's a Virgo. And so I went there, and I noticed at that moment that this was not going to work out because I was Muslim. He was Christian. It just wasn't going to work out. And so I broke it off in a very mean way because I had problems at that time. I broke it off in a mean way. I tore all his letters up, and I sent them back to him. I told him it was over, and it was like, it hurt my feelings. So how I met my ex-husband is because I was very, very down for 2 weeks. My friend was like,
he's not the ex-husband?
No.
Oh my God, plot twist.
T.
Oh my God.
So what happens is so I started hanging out in Highland Park, which is very, very, again, very ghetto hood, very, very there's abandoned buildings and abandoned houses, and it's low income families. And so my friends live there. So I was like, I'm going to go hang out with them. And so one day I went to my friend's house, and there was this boy who was acting super weird. He looked very weird. And I'm just like, who is that boy downstairs? And they're like, that's my little brother. I'm like, what the fuck, is he 12 or something? They're like, no, he's 18. I was like, whatever. He's ugly. And like, don't call my brother ugly. I'm just like, he's ugly. And the next day they're like, oh my God, he likes you so much. You should go out with him. I was like, oh God, I'm so tired. And they're like, no, he really likes you. Like, come on. I'm just like, fine, we can do a little double date or whatever. So we end up doing double date, and I'm just like, yuck. And then the next time he was just so loving and so just warm and quiet, just the opposite of me. And I'm just like, I love him. And so then that's how that started.
How long did you date before you got married?
We dated on and off, because we were very young. We were 17 to 19. So on and off for 2 years. And then we ended up getting married when we were 19.
Was there any resistance from your family to get married at 19?
So it wasn't really resistance from my side because my family's pretty broken. My mom wasn't really in my life like that. She was in and out kind of sort of because we were going through some stuff. His family was very tight knit, but also very trashy as well. And so you know how certain religions, on the top and surface, you look so great, but underneath you're very trashy. That's how his family is. Surface, it looks really great. Underneath, very, very fucked up. So, but his father, was amazing. That's the only person I loved in the family. But so his father knew that he was sneaking out and going to see me and stuff like that. And he's Islamically, you need to marry that girl because you can't keep doing this.
Were they Muslim too?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm just like, okay, let's do it. And of course, we didn't know shit about life.
Were you both virgins when you got married?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
So that also was a very intense, just togetherness because we basically grew up together.
Yeah.
And so when it ended, it was very, very horrible because it's I didn't expect that to happen. And also I put 10 years of, because he basically didn't know how to write a check when I first met him. He didn't know how to do anything because his family was they coddled him. And I grew up from a very single mom, very strong. So basically I became a mother figure.
Yeah.
Which is very not good in a relationship. Which I didn't know that at the time.
No.
So yeah, that happened. And then it ended really badly. So
I'm really sorry to hear that.
It's okay.
It's really intense when people fall in love so early. And I've had heard some stories of people telling they were going to get married. And this happens culturally in America, in certain states and in certain areas of the country where the value is to get married early, right after college or in college. But people don't take into consideration the person you are at even 22 and who you're going to be at 32 are vastly different human beings. Yes. There's so much growth in that.
I know.
How can you possibly... They say, you don't know who you're going to fall in love with. Bev was like, oh, no, I know. And I'm like, I just think about how often I change. I have changed as a human being. Who I am now is not even who I was 10 years ago. If I'd married someone when I was 30, I don't know that we would be together because that's not we don't want the same things.
Yeah. And now I look at marriage differently now, I think, because like as I'm growing up as a Muslim, or if you're like a devout like Christian or Jew, because it's the same values of like you need to get married and stop like fornicating. That's across the board religion. Across the board, same thing. Like we're so different. Like, are we really? Are we fucking really? We're the same people. Like, stop hating each other. But anyway, it's just like that. Get married early. Like, this completes you once you get married. And once you start having children, that's like the end all be all. And it's just like, now I look at marriage like coming from a long marriage and like getting divorced and seeing other people in my community get divorced and how horrific and oppressive it was for women. I definitely look at marriage differently. I don't necessarily believe in it. And all Muslim friends are like, please don't say that. That's the pinnacle of the religion. I was like, I'm so sorry, honey. I want to, but I don't believe in it. And so I'm not closed off to it. I just don't believe in it for the most part. And like, that's such a heavy thing to say as a Muslim. Yeah. They don't want you to say that.
What is it that makes you sort of dissociate from marriage? Like,
I just seen so many failed. Yeah. And then also just the way it turns people. Like, it just makes them so evil. And I'm just like, why are you doing
you're a little biased.
Why can't this just be amicable? Like, I see sprinkle a little bit of, mess on the top. That's okay. But to have like whole situations and communities involved and like names getting dragged and people just like crying and other women and other kids. It's like, why are you doing this? Like, just be like, you know what? I don't think this is going to work anymore. I don't love you anymore, or you're not satisfied. Whatever the case may be, it's just like all the dragging and hurt and just like disgust that comes with my divorce and other women that I've seen have gotten divorces. It's like, it's unnecessary. Like, come on, you guys, just be like truthful with yourself. Like, I know it hurts when you be like, I don't want to be with you no more, but honestly, I'd rather that than all the other extra stuff.
Than divorce. So you think is the goal like long-term partnership without the societal structure of marriage?
Yeah. Although I do want a wedding or some type of.
Have a big party,
because the first time we didn't have a big wedding. It was very small. It was in my living room. It was super stupid. Yeah. Actually, okay, I don't even count my first marriage because we didn't even have like a situation. Anyway, so I'm not real. I need some kind of ceremony that's really fancy. I like to get dressed and I like parties. Wants that.
I think 90% of the time people get married so they can have a wedding. I'm not even lying to you.
That is true.
That is like...
It's so beautiful. All your family and friends and music and a cake. I do like cake.
It's like having everybody come and... everyone you love come and give you attention for the day. And I also just think it's fun to throw like a giant party that people are mandated to come to.
Yes.
It's not like a birthday party where people are like, I might drop by later. And you're like, no, it's my wedding.
Right.
You have to be there.
4:00.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe I could just have a ceremony, like just a ceremony instead of our love. Maybe just not
like a
the wedding. Yeah, like something cute.
Something like that.
So millennial. Let's just change the name, but it's the same thing.
My issue with marriage is that, I definitely am into long-term partnerships and committed relationships. My issue with marriage is that I have noticed people slipping into very specific gender roles, whether or not they were like very independent women when they were single. And I don't know where that, I do know where that comes from. Like, that's how we've been socialized to like, this is what a marriage looks like. This is what a partnership looks like. And I have issues with the prescribed gender roles that are inherent in marriage. Like the women being the cleaner and the housekeeper and the caregiver and the man being the breadwinner, even when the woman is also earning income. Oop. Like,
Yeah, I saw that too. It's just like, my thing is if you want that traditional, I need you to take it all the way to 100%. Don't fucking be like, yeah, my wife has a job, but also has to do all these things. It's like, no. For her to be all the way, okay, homemaker, I'm gonna need you to do all of that. So no, she not working no job, bruh. Like, honestly, like, and I see that, I'm just like, this is not fair. Because, like, why are you working, but also taking care of kids, but also taking care of his stuff, and also, like, doing all this stuff? Also, you're working full-time job, and your man just basically works and doesn't do any of the house stuff. And I'm just like, this is not... You tried it. You did try it.
There's a lot of women that actually want to be at work and continue to go back to work. Right. So that's part of it.
Which is fine, but it's like, you're working full time, but you want your wife to be the homemaker, but also she's working full time.
That's bullshit.
That's not how you do it. If you wanted to do it, then do it all the way.
Right. So I think there are some like really progressive couples that are aware of that. But in general, what I find is that people just, even after like, they're really good at the beginning and then they just sort of accidentally slip into these gender roles.
Right.
Like it drives me crazy that when I'm in the car with my parents, my dad always drives. My mom is not allowed to drive the car. And I'm all, what? Why is that? She's like, it's easier. It's easier if he drives. And I'm like, on who? Oh, okay. He can't handle you driving the car and him sitting. But why is dad the driver of the family car? Like even that, as simple as that, as stupid as that. And like, why is dad the driver of the car and mom is the maker of the dinner? Where did that come from? I mean, I know where it came from, but like, why do we subscribe to that?
Yeah, I think sometimes it's like she said, sometimes it's comfortable, aka easier.
Right.
To just let people do what they're going to do. So I think it's just like comfort thing. Sometimes when you go against the grain, like what I felt when I used to go against the grain. When I was married, people wanted me to be a mother and a homemaker, and I never wanted to be a mom. And like in a lot of Muslim communities, like you need to have a baby for your husband. Like you need to do that.
Like a gift.
Like you need to do that because like that's your womanhood. That's why God gave you, uterus and the lady bits. Like you need to have a child. And so when we were married for a long time and never had children, people were like, literally like, we're going to find him another wife. Like you're a bad person. Yeah, no, they used to go hard on me. Like you're a bad person. You're going against God because you, are on birth control, you're sinning. Like people used to go in on me.
Like your community or your families?
It was mainly, community members and also his family. And I'm just like, just because I don't want a child, now I'm sinning. And now I was like, if God really wanted to make me pregnant, he would like dissolve the birth control in my system and get me pregnant. If you really believed in God, then you would know he's almighty and all-knowing. They'd be like, ah!
I love that.
How dare you? And I'm just saying, like, you sound really dumb right now. And so it was hard to always be, like, attacked because I chose not to fit into that gender role of, like, I didn't want children. So that was it.
You're already like going against the grain.
Right. And they always used to try to attack me. Yeah. So it's hard. Just like your mom said, it's easier because you get attacked once you be like, I don't want to do stuff like, I don't want to do this or this makes me uncomfortable. Then you get attacked. And it's just like a lot of people just rather just fit into those norms.
Of course. It's uncomfortable having a fight. I mean, I get why she doesn't resist. Yeah. But it like on the outside as an independent woman, it like, just bothers me a little bit. I'm just like, I
understand.
Frustrating. Do you have friends that are in Muslim marriages that you believe are successful? Do you have that model in your life?
No.
Huh.
No.
But is that because you've left kind of the Muslim community?
No, I'm still like, I'm around.
You're still
I'm not really, okay. I'm not part of it, but like, I know, I still like talk to people inside of it. It's just like, a lot of their, unfortunately, just keep it at 100. Their relationships are very, very bad. The only reason that they're keeping it together is because the women want to stay in it, or they have something to prove, or whatever the case may be. Yeah. But usually it's just the woman who's taking all the hits, unfortunately. Yeah. So I don't and I think also because we don't see like marriages and relationships the way they were intended. And so now a lot of us think it's just like tainted. So it's like all marriages are going to be like, I mean, I'm sure there are some marriages that are really, really nice and people are working together, but I've never seen it.
Well, we're the generation of like, they say we're the generation of like divorced parents. Like we're the generation that came out of the peak years of divorce, which were sort of like 80s, 70s, late 70s, 80s, and 90s. Mm-hmm. And so it's affecting, of course, our idea of what marriage is and what marriage should look like, Right. Why would we aspire to something that we've already experienced as being painful?
True that.
It'll be interesting to see, like, the next generation. If sometimes things like go on repeat, or they're cyclical, or I don't know. I'm just curious to see what the future of marriage is.
Yeah, I mean, people are still getting married.
They are.
I don't know if it's like at the same rate as maybe our parents.
The age of marriage has scooted up.
Okay.
So in the 70s, the average age of marriage was 23. And the age of women getting married now, the average, we're taking sort of all-encompassing in America, is now 32.
Oh, wow.
Ancient, I know. But the fact that the needle has moved at all, like women in their 20s are not like, yeah, let's get married. Whereas even as like recently, as the 70s, that was the average age of getting married was 23.
Okay, I think these statistics are like for a certain demographic of maybe like non-Muslims, because like in other communities, like
that's
Islamic
a great question.
communities,
I'd have to look into.
No, we get married super young.
Yeah,
like 32. Oh God, if you're a Muslim and you didn't get married at like 32, average. You're like crusted. You're done.
If like there's probably some, I don't know,
because there are certain communities that you definitely like 32. That's like your parents would like be like throw you.
Why are you
like
here?
You're crusty. You're dead. Go in the grave. Like your life's over. Your eggs are dry.
It's amazing to me that philosophy sounds so ancient.
I know.
It's bad. I can't believe it.
I don't even delve into it anymore. I'm just like, I'm tired. I'm over it.
I love that you just you just took a whole left turn to the other direction.
Yes.
You've lived like two different lives. It's kind of phenomenal.
Yeah, that's me. Yeah, that's like me just on every aspect. That definitely the things that I've learned in the Muslim community and in the communities that I was in, definitely I do add that to the things that I talk about now, the activism and stuff like that. Just like women's empowerment and just men having to understand that a lot of times women are afraid of them. Just like a lot of women are afraid of men because they're sometimes aggressors and stuff like that, and they hold the power, right, in the world. And so that they need to understand that it's not all about them and that there are other people with different perspectives in this world. And so a lot of like the whole mansplaining thing came from like, well, actually, it's like, stop doing that, like to women, like just listen sometimes, and same thing for race or religion or like body autonomy. Listen to the person that has less privilege than you. And I think that's what it comes down to. You know what I mean? Like I have more privilege than a dark-skinned woman or a woman who is more bigger than me or a woman who has fat in different places than me. I have privilege over her. Mm-hmm. So it's I have to speak for those people who don't have a voice, And so like I expect men to do the same thing because you come from a woman and you're going to have little girls. If you do decide to have children, like the woman on the street you're catcalling versus your cousin who's 13 or 14, they're both the same. They're both women. And they deserve the same amount of respect, whether you're related to her or attracted to her or not.
Yeah.
So it's just like, just getting that through is sometimes really difficult to have those conversations for it to get through.
Yeah. But God bless you for doing it. Someone needs to be out there spreading that message. So I commend you. Snaps all around for like pushing against the norm. And even you just saying that out loud, like the more we can say that out loud, the more that people hear that and it is reiterated to us, like the less it will be a thing that we have to teach people in the future. I
hope so. I really hope so.
Yeah. We'll see. Just curious, does your ex-husband know what you're doing with your life right
Probably. Now? Because like people in the community, I do.
Okay.
So a friend of a friend screenshotted some of the passages and sent it to his family, and it was really hilarious to hear the feedback on it. I was like, who has the last laugh now?
Good for you.
No, they honestly thought they thought they had played me, and they did. But I was like, I got you. Book deal.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That must feel so like, wonderful.
As a Leo, it does. I bask in it in the morning.
Yes. Just look at your book and you're like,
there's me, a whole book deal.
Yeah.
And so I think it's fair. Yeah. I think that, he knows. Also, the community members plaster. They reshare my commercials and my glamour ads.
And they're like in like a mean way?
Like, no, they're posting it like, oh, Leah's like from Detroit and she's Muslim and she's like in New York doing like amazing things. And so I know he sees it. So hopefully his wife does too.
He's got a new one.
Yeah. He actually married the girl that he was cheating on me with in Australia. He married her 6 months after our divorce. Yeah.
What a loser.
Yeah, and how that all went down is so Jerry Springer. How all that went down is in the book.
We will save some. Save it juicy
so they can
stuff
purchase my book, Unashamed.
Darian,
shameless plug.
I'm so curious.
Shameless plug.
If any of this resonates with you, or if anything has like come up for you as we've been talking.
Well, one, I want to say this was a great like exercise in just like shutting the hell up and like just like listening, you know.
Oh, we love you for that.
I wanted to jump in. I was like, no, don't do that.
I felt
good for you.
Look at you.
Thank you. We did that on purpose. Like,
yeah, no, it's good.
I wanted the conversation to be balanced. Mm-hmm. Like, women talk about this with themselves all the time, but we don't move the conversation forward unless we invite other people in on it. But what kind of feminist podcast would I be if I let someone come over and mansplain the conversation?
I definitely didn't feel like I was going to mansplain, but there were
I know you would.
I was going to jump in and be like, yeah. I was like, no. I thought I was going to get a shutdown. I was like, no, don't you dare agree.
Thank you. I know it's hard just as a human being when you're amped up about anything or you have an opinion, just to sit and listen to someone else.
Absolutely. Like, for example, you mentioned Taekwondo. I was like, I was a brown belt in Taekwondo.
Oh, really?
I just wanted to kind of throw it
cool.
in there. Yeah. There's a couple of times I was like, so.
But thank you for listening.
Yeah. No.
So yeah, like this was kind of a loaded convo. We were talking a lot about like religion and marriage and just the way that women can be socialized into a certain role in marriage. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Well, it made me think of my sister's Muslim, my brother-in-law's Muslim, my nephew, my niece, and they're 20 years strong. And my sister is hands down, she identifies herself as a Muslim feminist. But they also recognize that like we are a very kind of special case.
Okay.
Because there are certainly other people in their lives where their marriages have really kind of crashed and burned, and it has been all the things that you've said about being very kind of ugly and, friends of theirs that like,
do they receive any like criticism or judgment around being, I'll take it like what you said, like being feminist and being Muslim?
Well, I think in some cases it's, she feels like she's in, like we talked about privilege. She feels like she's in a privileged position.
Okay.
I think from a lot of her friends, they're like, yeah, you're in this great marriage, and so I think that there's a little bit of, I don't want to say guilt, but there's a little bit of like, man, you know what I mean?
I lucked out.
I mean, yeah, exactly. Luck, right. I lucked out that I'm in this really good marriage where because I see them and they're always like, yeah, they're solid. I feel like, so they're holding it down.
That's great.
Yeah,
That's great.
Yeah.
I have to ask you, do you use dating apps?
Do I use dating apps?
Yeah.
I used to. I don't anymore.
Oh.
Yeah.
Why not? What's in there?
I just felt like I felt like it started to get, I don't want to say maybe tedious. I kind of didn't like the small chat that you have to do because you do have to do the how was your day thing as like a softball.
Do you?
Gotta figure that out.
Do you?
Or do you? I guess you could start with a loaded question. Right? Who are you going to vote for?
Who are you voting for?
I'll try that next time. But I just felt like it was such a long ordeal just to like get
off the damn app.
Yeah, just to be like, all right, hey, do you want to meet? Is this something that you want to do?
Right.
Like I'd like to get to that quicker. And so I found that if you're just really out and about and you're socializing in that way, then that's a better way to.
So you're trying to meet people in real life.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah. I think we're kind of like on this pendulum swing where like everyone was on the apps and then people were like, shit, these don't fucking work at all. I've heard a lot of people on my podcast be like, no, I've left the apps. I'm doing IRL only. I'm meeting less people, but they're more quality engagements.
Exactly. I think it depends on what you want too. Cause I definitely have had some success with those apps, but not in the sense of like, anything like, I guess, meaningful. Or if we're really talking about like, if you're really looking for something meaningful and a meaningful relationship, and if you're looking for love, then I would say no. But for other things, if you're just looking to like hook up, then keep at it. It's like
what about friendship? Looking for friendship with the male species.
I also want to know, have you as a male ever felt physically objectified in any way, in the way that we as women, or anything that Leah has mentioned, like in the way that in real life or just in app conversation, has that ever come up for you?
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like it's so low on like the totem pole of things in the sense of, I think somebody has said that I had a nice ass once and I remember feeling, oh.
How dare you? How dare you?
Wow,
I have beautiful eyes.
Like she was very explicit.
Okay.
And then there was another situation.
Wait, do you like that? Is that a compliment, or do you feel objectified?
Well, it was just surprising. I feel like it was a surprising, like, wow.
Because it's rare. You don't hear it that much.
I think maybe that's what it was.
So in general, if people are hitting you, like when you were on the apps, would people message you and ask you? Would they make physical comments?
No, I think somebody did send me like a graphic of something once, though.
But not of
like a sexual,
of themselves?
No, it was like I think it was
you?
like a weird like sexual graphic of something.
Okay.
I love that that's the worst he's gotten. I'm like, yeah.
Like, what is it? Is it a vagina? Is it a penis?
Yeah,
what was it?
I think it was like an animated something.
But also,
that's so
like
creepy.
That's nothing. How many like dick pics and just like raw nude pictures have you received?
A lot.
Yeah, like that's so.
Yeah.
That's so. I'm so blasé. I'm like, oh, you received an image. How interesting. It's so boring to me.
Yeah.
It is.
But I'm glad you received something because, welcome to our world. What else? Any other observations or anything that bothered you that we said?
Yeah, I definitely was thinking about, this notion of being intimidating. And I feel like for a lot of us, I think there's definitely a sense that the rules have changed and that we need to adapt in a lot of different ways. But for a lot of us, that's really challenging because I think we have been accustomed to charming a lady in a certain way. And so I think that now we're kind of like, well, okay, so I guess don't compliment them on their appearance anymore. Don't do that,
So why is it that a woman with like as many achievements or accolades as say Leah has, why is she intimidating?
She's not intimidating to me.
No, I know. But if you had to pose a theory about why that might be intimidating to other men. What do you think?
I guess in the sense of, can you hold your own? I definitely feel that a little bit sometimes with like money stuff. I'm an artist, so I think in a lot of cases that's where I feel a little like, I think that's where I can run into some problems of like letting go of,
The man is supposed to be making more money than the woman.
Well, I definitely better be equal to what they're making. And if I'm not, then there is definitely a sense of...
There's an imbalance.
A little bit, yeah. And so, because I'm an artist and I do a lot of stuff, so I feel comfortable in that area of like, oh yeah, talent and stuff like that and charm and that stuff. But when you put me in a position like that, then that's when I feel like I was just having a conversation with one of my friends about there was a lady that was really new, and it just became very clear. I was like, oh yeah, I'm not in her tax bracket. That's how you start to feel like, oh okay. That's
how would you know if you hasn't had the conversation about it? Because
no. But it's like I've known her for a while now.
Oh, okay,
so now she's with somebody who's making tons of money.
Okay.
It's like he's like a Wall Street dude. It's like, oh, of course.
Okay.
Like that made sense. Like I felt it.
Interesting.
Otherwise, I feel like I'd be in there if I was making. If I was making a little bit more. So. Yeah.
Does that resonate with you that it like really comes down to the bottom line is like dollars?
Well, I'm an artist too, and like sometimes I live off credit cards, and I try to
like let's connect two masters.
It's just like sometimes, and like. And I let this one guy know that I was dating, and although he was young, but anyway, I told him, I'm like, he's like, you're doing all these things, like, and I don't have enough money for you. I'm like, honestly, like, I haven't even like asked you for money. Every time I say like activities, it's like museum or something like free. And like, I was like, that's not even a situation. I'm dealing with you right now. I know you don't have any money. That's cool. And it still was an issue for him. So that's how I was asking, like, do you think it was like, but that was another situation.
Well, I think because what we're talking about is like status, right? I feel like all of it is about being able to like have compensation in some way.
Gotcha.
So, because sometimes when you'll see a dude and you'll be like, why is she with that dude, right? And you'll be like, oh, because he's got like a ton of money. Or then you'll meet him and you'll be like, oh, this dude is really like funny. You know what I mean? Or there's something else going on that like, yeah.
The idea of that men would kind of play that game of like, what do I have that's of value? What's my ammunition to bring to the table so that I can meet this girl or be higher than her?
A lot of this is about like status. If it's like, you're trying to get to like a certain place, so. Yeah.
Solid. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
We're learning so much.
I know. Just like the idea of status on a date. I've never really thought that through before. Not that I have any
You've never thought of that before?
About like who has the
But
status.
You're doing it all the time.
I know.
What do you mean you never thought about that?
I guess
because there's that whole joke about
that way to me before.
Chris Rock has that joke where it's like, so a guy will go on a date, and when he goes back to his boys, they're like, yeah, well, what does she look like, right? And then a girl or a lady goes back to her friends, and the first thing they ask is, what does he do?
Yes, true.
You want to know, what does he do? Right.
Yeah, so it's
a different thing.
It's a different, interesting.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Interesting.
I don't have any answers, guys.
What? We're not going to solve? I'm not going to solve this right now?
What's your solution? Tell me. Let's see what happens.
I don't know. I'm asking
you. Okay.
Why would you ask the guy what the solution is?
Let him mansplain it to us.
Leah, what's your solution?
Honestly, this is going to be really cliche, but I would just say communication. I think too many people are super fake. In social media, and everyone has like this facade on. It's like, oh my God. And it's like they all have like these made up characters. And it seeps from social media out into real life. A lot of times we talk about like status and stuff like that and like looks. And it's just like, we need to communicate better what we're looking for and what we want. Or at least have some kind of idea, and also be grounded in ourselves. I think that also helps, because a lot of times, from my experience, relationships do fail is because the one person, or maybe sometimes both, are not grounded in who they are as an individual. And I feel like if we do more self-work and also communicate what we need, I feel like that will help a lot more than what we're doing right now.
If we're really trying to find meaningful relationships with people, then that requires us to spend a little less time off the phone and more kind of engaging with one another.
I love that.
That it can't be that. I think a lot of times we feel like, oh, well, I texted that person, so you're connected, sure.
Right.
But you're not having a conversation,
right?
Yeah.
Where you're like seeing them and like hearing what, how they sound, and so I'm trying to do better at that, especially if you really are looking for something meaningful, a meaningful relationship, you're looking for love. I feel like, and I think that's the problem, is that I feel like so much of us we do not have the kind of communication skills that if we were constantly kind of socializing with people in a way, we probably would be better at.
So true.
Yeah.
Well, that being said, so awesome to talk to you guys. You guys are killer communicators. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. I know you guys listening are not here with us in the studio, but it is important to me that we have these conversations in real life, in person, looking at each other across the table. So thank you for bringing your vulnerability and your opinions. I appreciate it very much. And I'm excited to see what both of you do in 2020 and beyond. So Leah and Darian, thank you so much for being on #single with me.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
We will catch you next time.